Our next speaker up, Nicholas Bell is a 32-year-old battling cystic fibrosis. I didn't say he's dealing with it, he dealt with it. No, he's dealing with it every day, just like I talked about with Kelly and Jeff Hatfield and the others that are here in the room tonight whose kids battle. They have 3. But Nicholas is 32 years old. Now, think about this at 32 years. If you know your background on CF, you know 32, he's beating the odds right now. At 32 years old, he's battling CF, who resides in Omaha, Nebraska, attending the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where he earned his BA in creative writing. He then went on to pursue his graduate degree in Charlotte, North Carolina at Queen's University, where he received an MFA in poetry. My man can write, too. He's a bad boy. He now works as a core teaching artist for the Nebraska Writers Collective, a nonprofit organization that promotes writing and performance poetry throughout the Midwest. He's also a program director of Writer's Block, which offers poetry workshops to inmates in prisons. Now check that out, inmates in prisons. So he's battling its own deal, but he's helping others who are battling something as well. Let's give him applause before he even gets up on that one right there. Offers poetry workshops and inmates in prisons throughout Nebraska. He formerly coached high school football at Omaha Central High, but now spends most of his time teaching poetry and staying on top of his CF treatments. Ladies and gents, let's give a huge, huge, huge Rimington Trophy round of applause for Nicholas Bell.
I look good, don't I? Yeah! I'd like to start out by congratulating Pat. I was very moved by your story, and if there's one thing I hope my speech does tonight, it sounds like you're already on the right track, but I hope that it just inspires you in some way. And as you move forward in your life, I implore you to use your platform, as you mentioned, to help make the world around you a better place. I would also like to thank my wife. I probably wouldn't be here today were it not for her. Thank you for loving me so hard and always making sure I stay on top of my treatments. Now, I've performed poems in front of more audiences than I could ever keep track of. I've given countless speeches throughout high school and college. I've led seminars, taught classes, read my master's thesis in front of my classmates and professors, delivered weekly motivational speeches as a high school football coach, been interviewed on the radio, written and delivered 4 eulogies, but today is by far the most important speech I will have ever given. I say this because I have only recently begun to talk about my battle with cystic fibrosis. I went the majority of my life keeping it a secret, sometimes pretending like it wasn't even there. I always wanted to seem like I was just normal, never realizing until recently that it was precisely this struggle that makes me who I am. I'm lucky enough to be here today because I somehow managed to outkick my coverage. When I was born, the doctors told my mother that I wouldn't make it past 28. Yet here I stand at actually 33. Despite a very close call. In April of last year, after coughing up blood for over a week, I finally decided to check myself into the hospital. It's not uncommon for patients with cystic fibrosis to have hemoptysis, where we cough up blood in our sputum from coughing so hard. It's Sunday morning, and atypical to my character, I am praying in the basement of the university hospital where the nurse technician tells me, "Don't worry, it's not a complicated procedure. It'll only take 10 minutes, and then we'll wake you back up." Then, they shove a camera down my throat to find out where my lungs are bleeding from. 10 minutes later, my heavy eyes blink open. I pull a breath from my toes and scan the room around me. But the only thing I can focus on is this tube they've now placed down my throat to keep me alive. I'm surrounded by my family, some from out of state. They tell me it's Thursday. I'm unable to speak because it feels like I'm choking on this ventilator. Disoriented, I soon realized that 5 days have passed. I'm now on life support, and to me, it feels like it's only been 10 minutes. While I'm under, they perform 3 separate operations to stop the bleeding in my lungs. At one point, when they think I'm in the clear, I start to cough up blood into the very tube that's keeping me alive. After 3 embolizations of the arteries in my lungs, they finally stop the bleed, only to discover a clot in my femoral artery. So they rush me from OR to IR to clean out the blood clot. All of this happens in what feels like the span of 10 minutes. Moments after I awake, they tell me that it's likely that I will need a double lung transplant. Before the bleed, my lung function was at an all-time low 25%. For the past 2 years, I've had to be on oxygen every night. I spent a total of 13 days in the hospital in April before I was then discharged to heal at home. I also lost 18 pounds of muscle during that time. After being sedated for 5 whole days and having a clot in my femoral artery, I could barely walk. The pain is almost intolerable. I have to use a cane to get around for the first couple of weeks, and I start to worry about what the future holds. Today, 8 months later, I'm happy to report that I have nearly doubled my lung function to 50% through hard work, exercise, and being diligent with my treatments. I no longer have to be on oxygen overnight, and for the moment, talks of a lung transplant have been placed on the back burner. To keep them there, every morning I rise and grind. My near-death experience taught me that we must always run towards our obstacles. In the aftermath of this incident, I finally began to open up about my battle with cystic fibrosis. Every day, I spend hours on treatments and have to work hard just so that I can breathe. My entire identity is organized around this disease. But I am so much more than just this disease. For the last 2 years, as Aaron mentioned, I've been working in local prisons in the area teaching creative writing to the inmates who are locked up. This has been my lifelong dream, to teach poetry in prisons, and it took me 8 years to accomplish this goal. I am living proof that no matter what obstacles you face in life, you can live your dream. And not only is it possible for you to achieve your dream, it's necessary. So make sure that the habits you have today are in line with the dreams you have for tomorrow. Because the things you do on a regular basis today will determine where you will be tomorrow. Whatever you do, please don't stop running towards your dream. And when obstacles arise along the way, make sure you run at them and not away from or around them. When I woke up after having almost died in April, I discovered why we are all here on earth. We are here to connect. We all go through our own hardships, whether it be disease, financial struggles, or adversity in general. And it's this struggle that connects us. Whatever it is that you're going through, I urge you not to go through it alone like I have done for so much of my life. True wealth is measured in good health and strong relationships with friends, family, and the community around us. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us, whether you have a disease or not. But if you can hear my words in this moment, then today is a guarantee. So go and be a better version of yourself tomorrow than you are today. and then repeat for the rest of your days on this earth. To be in the service of others, I don't know what else I could ask for in life. It is time for all of us to rise and grind. Thank you.